Don't you dare use my toilet. An incompetent woman like you is not my family. You act like this is your house. I've been letting you live here, but I've never heard a word of appreciation from you.
Thank you.
What? I can't hear you. Anyway, how long are you going to sit there? I'm horrified that you are touching my things. You contaminate them and even make the air polluted too. From now on, you will go outside for a shower and toilet. That's good enough for you.
You can't be serious. There is nothing open at this time of night.
What are you talking about? There's a field and a pond right there. You can make good use of them.
Having said that, my mother-in-law locked me out of the house. The story goes back some time ago. After I married my husband Henry, we moved in with his parents for convenience as we both worked. I had been visiting them from time to time before I got married. My father-in-law was kind and treated me like a real daughter. I lost my father when I was very young, so he became like a real father to me. Unfortunately, he fell ill just before the wedding and was hospitalized when I started living at his house. My mother-in-law, Jackie, on the other hand, was cold to me in contrast to him. She acted cheerful and nice, and never did anything wrong to me in front of her family. But then, once we were alone,
your flavoring is too salty. Do you want to make me sick? You bring bad energy around me.
She verbally abused me. She was a housewife and was always at home. Being alone with her was the most difficult time for me. I didn't want to go home, so I put in more hours at work. She became increasingly abusive toward me as I worked overtime every day. In the end, I received snide remarks together with a disapproving sigh every time she saw me. One evening, she scowled at me as usual upon my return from work.
Don't you dare walk around the house like that. You are filthy.
She scolded me. I was starving and wanted to eat dinner first, but I reluctantly headed toward the bathroom. She quickly walked past me and stood in front of me with disgust.
You're not thinking of using my shower, are you?
But you told me to clean up.
Go outside. How dare you try to use my shower?
Outside? There's nothing open around here at this hour.
Then go farther. You can look it up on Google Maps. I'm a germaphobe, you know. I can't stand having strangers in my house in the first place. It grosses me out to have an unhygienic person like you here.
But what am I supposed to do?
If you keep staying here, you contaminate everything. Besides, a daughter-in-law isn't my family. So take your shower and toilet outside.
Toilet too? How am I supposed to do that?
Shut up. There are public toilets. There's a pond nearby too. Stop complaining and get the heck out of here.
She dragged me out of the house and locked the door behind me. I stared at the closed door in despair. It had been a normal occurrence for me to take verbal abuse from her, but that was the first time she had gone to such an extreme. I figured that I would be allowed to use the bathroom the next day, and drove to the nearby gas station at that time. It was wishful thinking. I was not allowed to use the shower or toilet for several days after that. For the shower, I went to the gym where I had a monthly membership. I spent my days going to the gym and using the restroom at a nearby gas station or shopping center. Jackie was not satisfied with that. Her tirade didn't end there. And on top of all that, she said,
I'm letting you live in my house, so it's only logical that you give me your salary. It's called rent. You are really despicable to stay for free.
I had been sending money to my mother, who lived alone in the countryside, to make a comfortable living. Jackie was fiercely determined that I was afraid to refuse, and ended up giving her my entire salary. Henry was aware of how I was being treated by her, but he always put her before me. He pretended not to see me going out to use the bathroom, no matter how cold it was outside. On the contrary, He sometimes joined her in mocking me. More than half a year after we started living together. Her harassment didn't stop, but it got worse by the day. I couldn't understand why I was being treated like this. I tried to think of anything I had done wrong. My own husband was on his mother's side, and my kind father-in-law was in the hospital. My mother had suffered from a heart ailment in the past, and I didn't want to worry her. There was no one whom I could rely on around me. After all, I had to endure unreasonable treatment every day without being able to talk to anyone about it. If I stayed at home, I had to hear nothing but criticism, which was depressing. I gave all my salary to Jackie, and of course, Henry didn't give me any allowance. I couldn't even enjoy the time outside the house. Besides, I had to do housework on behalf of Jackie, who refused to do it. When I came home late, she complained, so I couldn't just stay out. I couldn't buy new clothes or go to the hairdresser, and my body and soul were falling apart. I looked forward to stopping by the gym, but since Jackie started taking my salary, I wasn't able to continue with the membership. I struggled to find a place to shower, and my body gradually began to suffer from itching and other discomforts. One day, as I stopped at the train station to use the toilet, I saw my father-in-law, Ian. His health was improving, and he got permission to stay at home overnight that day. I was supposed to pick him up later, but apparently he had made it back on his own. He was smiling as usual and spoke to me in the same gentle manner as before.
Hi, Lolan. What are you doing here?
I just need to use the bathroom.
Huh? You have it at home. Is it not working?
No, it's not that.
What's wrong?
If I told him how I was being treated at home, it would have made him worry. I wanted to avoid stressing him. However, I was struggling to hold back my urge to urinate, so I told him about what had been going on at home. I'm not family, so I'm not allowed to use the bathroom at home.
What?
Jackie is a germaphobe and can't stand it when I, a stranger, use her bathroom.
What's Henry been doing about it?
He's on her side, so nothing in particular.
I see.
He let out a deep sigh.
I'm sorry to hear all that. Let's go home.
He squeezed my shoulder. His reaction loosened the tension in me, and I had to try hard to hold back my tears. After I finished using the bathroom, we went back home together. Once we were back, he gathered Jackie and Henry in the living room. At first, she was happy to see the long-awaited return of her husband. But then, she was puzzled by the strange air around him.
Lauren told me all about what you have been doing to her.
What do you mean? What has been going on?
Don't pretend. I heard that you wouldn't let her use the shower or toilet in the house because she's not family. I also heard that you are taking away all of her salary.
That's not true.
Jackie glared at me. Ian stepped in between us and hid me from her.
What are you doing? You should reflect on what you have done to her instead. Indeed, she's not blood related, but she married our son and tried to become a part of the family. Instead of treating her with gratitude, you treated her in such a terrible way. You and I were originally strangers who became a family, right? We couldn't have been if we didn't care for each other. What on earth are you thinking? And you, Henry?
He jerked as he heard his name called.
You're her husband, aren't you? You're on the wrong side right now. Start protecting your wife and stop being so attached to your mother already. This is the role of a husband. But it's not but. You are a grown man. It's overdue to let go of your parents.
Ian was calm, but there was suddenly a sense of anger in his voice. Henry seemed to be frightened and glanced at Jackie for help.
We didn't mean to neglect her, right, Mom?
She looked at him for a moment, and then turned to Ian.
It's all a misunderstanding. Henry told me that if Lauren didn't use the shower and toilet in the house, the water bill would be less, and her salary should be ours, so we should take it away from her. I told him I couldn't do such a pitiful thing, but he insisted.
Hey, what are you talking about?
I didn't want to do it, but I had to follow his order.
That's bullshit. You're the one who complains to me about sharing the bathroom with Lauren. About her salary too. You said if you could use it, you would be able to live a more carefree life.
What? I can't believe you're pointing a finger at your own mother.
They began to blame each other. Unable to follow the scene in front of me, I just quietly stared at them in a daze. The two, who told each other that they were not to blame, showed no trace of their former good relationship, but only ugliness. Ian sighed loudly next to me.
I understand how you guys are now. You have no intention of apologizing to Lauren, and you're accusing each other. You should know a little bit about shame. Both of you, get out of my house right now. You need to cool down and think about what you have done.
He immediately kicked them out of the house. I corresponded with them several times after that, but instead of expressing remorse, they showed resentment at being kicked out. Ian and I were both disgusted and decided to divorce and cut ties with them. When the divorce was finalized several months later, I was summoned by Ian.
I blame myself for Jackie being selfish and arrogant, and Harry being a mommy's boy. All because I had been putting work first in my life. I lectured about family like I knew best, but I was never a good husband or father. I was someone who paid not enough attention to the family. I hoped Henry would take me as a bad example and do the opposite with you.
It's okay, Ian.
How selfish of me. I'm really sorry, Lauren. It was my fault to begin with. As an apology, I want you to take this house.
Please, Ian. It's not your fault. Besides, this house is filled with your precious memories, isn't it? I can't take it.
But I would like to make some kind of apology to you. I've caused you a lot of pain.
Then, will you hang out with me from time to time?
Hang out? Is that what you want?
Yes. I lost my father when I was very young. I thought of you as my real father. So I hope we can continue to be friends in the future. He nodded in agreement with a bit of an awkward expression of embarrassment and happiness. I then moved into an apartment and started making my single life. Ian was discharged from the hospital and also started living at home alone. He often invited me to dinner with him, and we enjoyed talking about our new life. As time passed, he became interested in meeting my mother again. He had only met her at the wedding, and they had not seen each other since then. If I wanted to continue my relationship with him, I thought it was a good idea to have dinner with the three of us once. Soon after, we arranged a date to meet up. Unexpectedly, my mother and Ian seemed to hit it off, and the dinner was full of joy. Before my marriage, there was difficulties to arrange a proper meeting due to Ian's health condition and my mother's schedule. They had only met at the wedding and weren't able to get to know each other well. They were actually close in age and shared similar hobbies. They talked quite a bit at the dinner, and before I knew it, they were meeting without me. They became romantically involved in no time, and Ian is my stepfather now. I can still see the two of them a little embarrassed, coming to announce their engagement. I was so surprised and overjoyed that I cried. My mother moved out of the countryside, and I moved out of my apartment. The three of us are living happily together in Ian's house now. Meanwhile, Ian told me that Jackie and Henry were making the ends meet. Henry was working hard to support Jackie, but his relationship with his selfish mother, who always complained about everything, deteriorated by the day. It sounded like she had turned all of her frustration toward him since I disappeared. He was stressed from working overtime and from living with a difficult mother. Eventually, he became depressed and ended up quitting his job without telling her. Of course, she was furious with him, but she soon realized that someone had to make a living. She finally got off her butt and started working. However, she had been a housewife for a long time and was naive in some ways, so she struggled to find the job that she wanted. She has been repeating with getting and quitting a job until now. She and Henry have been contacting Ian from time to time to ask for financial help, but he has been refusing them.
They are my former family. I have to take care of this family now.
He looked at my mother and me and continued to say,
If I could teach them anything now, it would be to go through the hardship and learn the pain that people go through. If they would be a little kinder to others, maybe someone would come along to help them.
He sounded a little sad. I'm sure I will have many hardships in the future, but I must not forget to be kind and cultivate a heart that is considerate of others. And one day, I would like to build a loving, caring, and wonderful family like my mother and Ian.